Good morning and welcome to Daily Focus. We're glad that you've joined us this morning. I trust you had a great weekend. The Lord blessed us with a beautiful weekend and a great opportunity to celebrate America and the freedoms that we enjoy, to be able to celebrate it with friends and family, and many in the church yesterday told me about how wonderful the day was. It was just something about that day, the beauty of the weather, the beauty of the time of year, the beauty of time with family, the beauty to celebrate our country. And I hope that we do that all the time. I think that we need to bring back a thankfulness for America and a willingness to defend who she is and what our founding fathers intended. I'm often reminded of John Adams, our second president, who reminded us that our very Constitution and Declaration of Independence was designed for a nation that feared the Lord, and that it really couldn't work if a nation did not fear the Lord. So when you take God out of the equation, the very fabric of our Constitution begins to break down because of the amount of freedom and personal responsibility that has been delegated to the individual citizen. And our founding fathers realized that if the citizens would not be what's the word I'm looking for? Guided, that they would not be able to discipline their own lives, then this really wouldn't work. There's too much freedom and individual responsibility. When people refuse to be individually responsible, then it just begins to break down. I think we're seeing that. And so, we need a rejuvenation of character and integrity and a morality that comes back to America. And then those founding documents will work beautifully as they have. And so I think that it's just an important time of year to just remember to celebrate our freedoms, the stewardship God has given to us in freedom. Well, today we want to continue in Proverbs chapter 15. I think it's interesting. Verse 10 says, "Correction is grievous unto him that forsaketh the way, and he that hateth reproof shall die." And I have these little humorous quotes on my desk that I read each day. And today, the quote is, "No one so thoroughly appreciates the value of constructive criticism as much as the one who gives it." And so it's kind of a play on words that sometimes we enjoy too much giving constructive criticism. But we all need it. We all need accountability. We all need that help. The Bible is saying that correction, though it's grievous to the one who's receiving it, nobody likes to hear you're doing something wrong. Nobody likes to hear you have to change something. That's just not what we like to hear. We like to hear we're doing great, keep it up, things are going well. And so nobody likes constructive criticisms. However, some people love to give it all the time. And so it takes wisdom, but you certainly need to be able to respond correctly to reproof, or the Bible says you'll die. The consequences mount up. I want to deal with verse number 13 and following this morning, and deal with a merry heart. Verse 13 says, "A merry heart maketh a cheerful countenance, but by sorrow of the heart the spirit is broken. The heart of him that hath understanding seeketh knowledge, but the mouth of fools feedeth on foolishness. All the days of the afflicted are evil, but he that is of a merry heart hath a continual feast. Better is a little with the fear of the Lord than great treasure and trouble therewith. Better is a dinner of herbs where love is than a stalled ox and hatred therewith." The Bible is talking to us about the importance of just being cheerful. Let me ask you, what's your reputation? Are you a Debbie Downer? Are you an Eeyore, that everyone says you're going to find the negative in everything? People can be cheerful until they get around you for 10 minutes and they're going to be depressed. Or is it that when you come into the room, everything seems to brighten up? When you enter the presence of your coworkers or your family or the gathering at church, whatever the case may be, do people smile? Do people realize that there is going to be a bright and cheery presence, that you are optimistic and excited? How do people respond to you? What is your reputation? Well, our text this morning is reminding us of a couple of things, and one is that a cheerful heart shows on your countenance. You ever been around somebody you just think they're mad all the time? Well, the problem is what's going on in their heart. It shows up on their face. God says, you are either experiencing the joy of the Lord in your heart, and it resonates to your face, and then broadcast a cheerful heart to everyone, or you have a negative heart. You have a heart that is wrapped up in circumstances, situations, and it tends to show up in your attitude or your spirit. And God says, listen, it's really important that we show the joy of the Lord. I talked about that yesterday at church, but being joyful is having our hope tied to something that will never change, which is the person of Jesus Christ. And so circumstances, situations, relationships, job status, financial status, all of those things change over time, but Jesus Christ is always the same. He goes on to talk about that riches are never going to produce a merry heart. We look for joy, we look for contentment in places we can never find it. And so he makes a couple of references. He says, better to have a little and fear the Lord, or let God be in his rightful place, than to have great riches and to invite trouble. Selfishness always brings strife and trouble. And then he says, better it is to eat herbs and have love than to have a stalled ox, or have the fatted calf ready to be slain and steaks for everyone, but to have hatred. And so he's talking about our homes. And so I just want to conclude with just bringing it all back to our homes and saying, is your home a cheerful place? Is your marriage a cheerful place? Is your atmosphere cheerful? And the reason I ask that is because God is saying, if we can love, it will produce a contented, cheerful experience. If we will love biblically, unconditionally, without reservation, for the other's good, even if our needs never get met, but we find such joy in serving others and meeting their needs, making sure their needs are met, there is a cheerfulness that comes, there is a contentment that comes, and that's way better than having all the luxuries of life, having all the amenities of life, having all of the things that the world offers, but you can't get along. But there's bickering and fighting and pressure and all of those things in your marriage or in your home. You'd be better off to work less hours, to make less money, and focus on what really matters, and that is fearing the Lord, keeping him in his rightful place, staying on the path of wisdom, so that there can be love exchanged one for another, even if it means you have to eat salad and you never get steaks. You just have to deal with the more simple things of life. You will be better. And so God's just teaching us the value of a merry heart. He's teaching us the value of loving each other. He's teaching us the value of creating an atmosphere where there is the joy of the Lord. And so this morning, I just want to encourage you to start your week out with a cheerful countenance. May it be contagious. By the way, did you know a complainer is contagious, but so is a cheerful person? Why don't you be contagious as a cheerful person today? May God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.